6 months had passed since the Council fleet fled from Earth's solar system. The news of their defeat had spread across the galaxy like wildfire, reaching every corner of Council space and beyond. The impossible had happened. A species the Council had classified as prey had sent their mighty fleet running with their tails between their legs. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Apex, humanity's newest and most advanced starship. Through the viewing window, he could see the sprawling space station that orbited the Council's primary world. The station was massive, built to impress visitors with the power and wealth of the galactic government. Incoming transmission, reported Communications Officer Beth Martinez. It's from the Council chambers. Put it through, Jake ordered. Speaker Mordon appeared on the main screen. The purple-skinned alien looked older than he had 6 months ago. The stress of dealing with humanity's emergence had clearly taken its toll on the Council leadership. Admiral Sullivan, Mordon said formally, welcome to Council space. We are prepared to begin the negotiations. Thank you, Speaker, Jake replied. Earth is ready to discuss our future relationship with the Galactic Council. The journey to this moment had not been easy. After the Council's defeat, word had spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Some species were excited to learn that the Council could be challenged. Others were terrified that the galactic order was collapsing. Dr. Kevin Adams had spent months analyzing the political situation in Council space. His reports painted a picture of an empire under stress. Several client species had begun questioning their protection agreements. Some had even started developing their own military forces. The Silani have declared independence, Dr. Adams had reported to Earth's leadership. They were one of the Council's oldest client species, but they've decided they no longer need protection. What about the others? President Linda Carter had asked. 12 species have requested meetings with our diplomatic corps, Dr. Adams replied. They want to learn how we defeated the Council fleet. Some are asking about forming alliances with Earth. The transformation had been remarkable. In just 6 months, humanity had gone from unknown prey to the most talked-about species in the galaxy. Every civilization wanted to know more about the strange bipeds who had humiliated the mighty Council. Captain Matt Thompson had led several exploration missions beyond Earth's solar system. His ships had made contact with independent species who had never joined the Council's protection network. Many of them were eager to trade with humans and learn about their technology. The galaxy is bigger than the Council wants anyone to know, Captain Thompson had reported. There are hundreds of species out here that have been ignored or suppressed. They're all interested in alternatives to Council rule. Now Jake was here to negotiate Earth's official relationship with the galactic government. The Council had finally agreed to meet with humanity as equals rather than as potential subjects. Shall we begin? Speaker Morden asked. We shall, Jake replied. The negotiations took place in the Council's Grand Chamber, the same room where they had first decided to offer humanity their protection. Now the setting had a very different feeling. The 12 Council species sat at their curved table, but they no longer looked confident and superior. Across from them, the human delegation occupied seats that had been hastily added to accommodate Earth's representatives. Jake led the human team, which included Emma Rodriguez as chief diplomat, Dr. Adams as scientific advisor, and Colonel Lisa Harper as military consultant. They were joined by Ambassador Tony Garcia, who had been appointed as Earth's first official representative to the galactic community. Let us begin with the most important issue, Speaker Mordon said. Earth's status in the galactic community. Earth claims full sovereignty over our solar system and any colonies we establish, Jake stated clearly. We will not accept client status or any form of Council oversight. War Master Krextal, his injuries from the battle still visible, spoke up angrily. This is unprecedented. No species has ever demanded equal status with the Council. Then it's time for a precedent, Emma Rodriguez replied smoothly. The galaxy is changing, War Master. The old ways don't work anymore. Council member Ixara clicked nervously. But what about the protection protocols? The resource-sharing agreements? The entire system depends on the established hierarchy. Dr. Adams leaned forward. Perhaps the system needs to change. Our analysis suggests that many species in the galaxy are capable of independence. They just need the opportunity to prove it. The council members exchanged worried glances. This was exactly what they had feared. The human victory had inspired other species to question the natural order that had existed for centuries. What do you propose? Speaker Mordoon asked reluctantly. Ambassador. Garcia opened his briefcase and produced a document. Earth proposes the creation of a new galactic framework. Instead of protectors and clients, we suggest a confederation of equal partners. Impossible, War Master Krextall growled. Some species are naturally stronger than others. The weak need protection from the strong. Or maybe the weak just need the chance to become strong, Colonel Harper suggested. Earth was considered weak until we proved otherwise. The negotiations continued for hours. The Council was reluctant to give up their position of dominance, but they could not ignore the reality of their situation. Other species were already following humanity's example and demanding independence. We have reports of unrest throughout our territory, Council member Vexron admitted. Several client species have stopped sending resource shipments. Some have even begun building their own military forces. The Galactic Protection Network is collapsing, Council member Exara added. Species that have been peaceful for centuries are suddenly developing weapons and defenses. Jake nodded sympathetically. Change is never easy, but it's better to manage the transition than to fight against it. What guarantee do we have that these newly independent species won't attack us? War Master Krextall demanded. The same guarantee you offered the client species, Emma Rodriguez replied. Mutual respect and fair dealing. The difference is that now it goes both ways. Dr. Adams activated a holographic display showing the current galactic situation. Look at what's happening out there. Species are forming new alliances based on mutual benefit rather than protection relationships. Trade is increasing. Scientific cooperation is expanding. The display showed shipping routes, communication networks, and diplomatic contacts that had developed since humanity's emergence. The galaxy was becoming more connected and more prosperous. The Terran model is spreading, Dr. Adams continued. Species are learning that they don't need protectors. They need partners. Speaker Mordon studied the data carefully. And what role does Earth see for itself in this new galaxy? We want to be a good neighbor, Jake replied. We'll trade with anyone who deals fairly with us. We'll defend ourselves against anyone who threatens us. And we'll help any species that wants to learn how to stand on its own. You're talking about the end of the Council, as we know it, Speaker Mordon said quietly. We're talking about the evolution of the Council, Ambassador Garcia corrected. Instead of 12 species ruling over dozens of others, you could become part of a true galactic community. The Council members spoke among themselves in their various languages. Finally, Speaker Mordon turned back to the human delegation. We need time to consider these proposals, he said. This represents a fundamental change in how the galaxy has operated for over 1,000 years. Of course, Jake replied, but don't take too long. With or without the Council's participation, the galaxy is changing. It's better to be part of that change than to be left behind by it. As the negotiations recessed, Jake walked to the observation deck of the space station. Through the transparent walls, he could see ships from dozens of different species docking and departing. The galaxy was more active than it had been in centuries. Dr. Adams joined him at the viewing window. Do you think they'll agree to our proposals? They don't have much choice, Jake replied. The old system is already breaking down. We're just offering them a way to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Colonel Harper approached. With the latest intelligence reports, 3 more species have declared independence this week. The Zarniks, the Quiloans, and the Zephyrians. They're all requesting military advisors from Earth. And the Council's response? They're not trying to stop them anymore, Colonel Harper replied. They've realized they can't fight every species in the galaxy. Emma Rodriguez returned from her private meeting with several council members. Some of them are starting to come around. Council member Vexron actually seems excited about the possibilities. He thinks a more cooperative galaxy could be much more prosperous. What about War Master Krextal? Jake asked. He's still opposed, but he's in the minority now. Most of the council realizes they need to adapt or become irrelevant. The next day, the negotiations resumed. This time, the atmosphere was different. Instead of defending their old privileges, the council members were asking practical questions about how the new system would work. How would disputes between species be resolved? Council member Ixara wanted to know. Through negotiation and arbitration, Ambassador Garcia explained, with multiple neutral parties. The crystal towers of Zentari Prime reached toward the purple sky like giant fingers. Inside the largest tower, aliens from across the galaxy sat in a great circle. Their faces showed worry and fear. The Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting, and everyone knew why. Ambassador Kethfer stood up from his floating chair. His blue skin seemed to glow in the soft light of the chamber. He was tall and thin, with 4 arms that moved like water when he talked. The Zalonians were known for being calm and wise, but today Kethfer looked troubled. Fellow council members, he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. We have a problem. The humans from Earth are becoming dangerous. A wave of nervous sounds filled the room. Some aliens clicked their claws on the metal floor. Others made humming noises that meant they were scared. The crystalline hegemony representative, a being made of living glass, rang like a bell when she was upset. Tell us what you have learned, said the council leader, an ancient creature with too many eyes and a voice like grinding stone. Kethfer waved one of his hands, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human ship called the U.E.S. Defiant. The ship looked small and simple compared to the sleek vessels that other species used. But looks could be wrong, and the council was learning that the hard way. This ship and its crew have been traveling through 3 star systems, Kethfer said. They have caused trouble everywhere they go, not because they are mean or want to hurt anyone, but because they think differently than we do. The hologram changed to show Captain Jake Morrison, the human in charge of the ship. He was not very tall, with brown hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. He looked normal, but the aliens in the room knew better. They had heard the stories. Captain, Morrison and his crew solved the mining crisis on Kepler Station, Kethfer continued. They did it in 3 days. Our best engineers had been working on it for 3 months. They used methods that we never thought of, methods that scared the station workers. The representative from the Viridian Collective stood up. Her green skin rippled with emotion. The humans drink poison for fun, she said, her voice shaking. They call it alcohol. They laugh while they consume something that would kill most of us. More worried sounds filled the chamber. The aliens were learning that humans were not like other species. Most intelligent life in the galaxy came from safe worlds where the biggest danger was maybe bad weather or small animals. But humans came from Earth, and Earth was different. Show them the report, said the council leader. The hologram changed again. Now it showed Dr. Velinara, a Zilonian scientist who had been studying humans for months. She appeared in the chamber as a projection, speaking from her laboratory far away. Honored Council, Dr. Velanara said, I have finished my study of human biology. What I found will shock you. She waved her hand, and the image showed a human skeleton next to the skeleton of a Zilonian. The difference was clear. Human bones were much thicker and stronger. Their muscles were dense and powerful. Their brains were wired in ways that seemed impossible. Humans evolved on what we call a Class 12 death world, Dr. Velanara explained. Earth is a planet where almost everything tries to kill you. The weather can freeze you or burn you. The animals want to eat you. Even the plants can be deadly. And the humans not only survived this world, they became the strongest species on it. The chamber fell silent. A Class 12 death world was something from nightmares. Most species avoided such places completely. The idea that intelligent life could evolve there seemed impossible. Their bone density is 3 times higher than ours, Dr. Velanara continued. Their muscle fibers are designed for explosive movement. Their reflexes are faster than our computer systems. And their minds? Their minds are built for survival in impossible situations. The hologram showed human children playing games. To the aliens watching, these games looked like military training. The children ran and jumped and fought with each other, laughing the whole time. They were learning skills that would make them dangerous. They call it fun, Dr. Velanara said. What we would consider combat training, they do for entertainment. Their young ones learn to fight before they can properly walk. Ambassador Cuthver nodded sadly. This is why we must act. The humans are not evil, but they are dangerous. They think that impossible problems can be solved. They never give up, even when they should. They turn everything around them into a weapon. The crystalline hegemony representative made a sound like breaking glass. What do you suggest we do? We must contain them, Cuthver said. For the safety of the galaxy, we must limit their expansion. We will tell them it is for their own good. We will say that space travel is too dangerous for them. We will make rules that keep them on their own worlds. The council leader's many eyes focused on the hologram of Captain Morrison. And if they refuse to follow these rules, then we will make them follow the rules, Cuthver said. We have 12 member species with strong military forces. The humans have a few small ships and no real weapons. They cannot fight the entire galaxy. Far away from the crystal towers of Centauri Prime, Admiral Lisa Carter sat in her office on Earth. The walls were covered with pictures of spaceships and star maps. She had been waiting for this call, and when it came, she was ready. Admiral, said the voice on the communication device. This is Captain Morrison. We have a problem. Lisa Carter was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been in the space service for 30 years, and she knew trouble when she heard it. Tell me what's happening, Jake. The Galactic Council just sent us new safety restrictions, Captain Morrison said. They say it's for our own protection, but it feels like they're trying to keep us locked up. Carter looked at the reports on her desk. Similar messages had been sent to every human ship in space. The pattern was clear. The aliens were scared of humans, and scared people did dangerous things. Where are you now? Carter asked. Harmony. Point Trading Station, Morrison replied. We're docked here for supplies. The alien crews are acting strange. They keep staring at us and whispering to each other. Carter felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Harmony Point was a neutral station, far from Earth. If something happened there, it would take days for help to arrive. Jake, listen to me carefully, she said. I think you're about to have visitors. The kind of visitors who don't knock first. What do you mean? The council is scared of us. Scared enough to do something stupid. Watch your back and be ready. For anything. As if her words had made it happen, alarms began to sound through Captain Morrison's ship. His crew rushed to the windows and looked out at space. Coming toward them were 12 large ships with strange designs and glowing weapons. "Admiral," Morrison said, his voice calm but tense, "I think those visitors just arrived." The Vel-Taran fleet had come to Harmony Point. Their ships were beautiful and deadly, with crystalline hulls that sparkled in the light of the nearby star. They moved with grace and purpose, surrounding the small human ship like hunters surrounding prey. On the bridge of the lead Vel-Taran vessel, Commander Zeftai studied the human ship through his viewing screen. The U's Defiant looked so small and weak compared to his mighty fleet. This would be easy. "Open communication with the human vessel," he ordered. The face of Captain Morrison appeared on the screen. He looked calm, which surprised Zeftai. Most species would be terrified when faced with such overwhelming force. "Captain Morrison," Zeftai said, "by order of the Galactic Council, you and your crew are to surrender immediately. You will come aboard our ship for psychological evaluation and rehabilitation." Morrison smiled, and something about that smile made Zeftai uncomfortable. "And if we refuse?" "Then we will take you by force," Zeftai replied. "You have one small ship. We have 12 warships. The choice should be obvious." "You're right," Morrison said. "The choice is obvious." The communication ended, and Zeftai felt satisfied. The humans would surrender, and this dangerous situation would be resolved peacefully. He had no way of knowing that on the human ship, Captain Morrison was giving orders that would change everything. "Danny, activate Protocol 7, Morrison said to his engineer. "Amy, start broadcasting on all emergency frequencies." "Rick, you know what to do." The 3 crew members nodded. They had been preparing for this moment since the day they left Earth. They knew that someday someone would try to cage them. And they had decided long ago that they would never go quietly into any cage. The trap was about to be sprung, but the aliens had no idea who was really caught in it. The Vel-Taran boarding ships moved toward the UE Defiant like silver fish swimming through dark water. Inside the lead ship, Commander Zeftai felt confident. His people had the best weapons and armor in the galaxy. They had studied human technology and found it simple and weak. "Remember," he told his soldiers, "these humans are dangerous because they think strangely. Do not let them trick you with words. Stay alert, but do not fear them. They are primitives with primitive weapons." The soldiers nodded. They wore armor made of living crystal that could stop any energy weapon. Their rifles could burn through metal like paper. They had fought battles across the galaxy and always won. On the human ship, Captain Morrison watched the boarding craft approach. He looked calm, but his crew could see the tension in his shoulders. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from the real thing. "Danny, how long do you need?" Morrison asked. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez looked up from his control panel. He was a short man with quick hands and a mind that worked like a computer. "Give me 5 minutes, Captain. Just 5 minutes, and they'll wish they stayed home." Danny had been working on the ship's systems for months. On the surface, everything looked normal. But underneath, he had built a maze of hidden circuits and secret programs. The aliens thought they knew human technology, but they had no idea what humans could do when they got creative. "Amy, what's the status on our messages?" Morrison asked. Communications Officer Amy Walsh smiled. She was young and looked harmless, but she had been trained by the best code breakers in the Earth fleet. "I'm broadcasting our position and situation on 17 different frequencies, Captain. If there are any human ships within 50 light years, they'll know we need help." "Good. Rick, are you ready?" Security Chief Rick Thompson checked his equipment one last time. He was a big man with scars on his hands and a face that had seen too many fights. But he was not just a soldier. He was a hunter who had grown up in the mountains of Montana, learning to track animals and survive in the wild. "Ready, Captain?" Rick said. "They think they're boarding a normal ship. They're about to learn that humans don't build normal ships." The first Velterran boarding craft attached to the U-East Defiant with a soft clang. The aliens cut through the outer door with their energy weapons, expecting to find scared humans waiting to surrender. Instead, they found Captain Morrison standing alone in the docking bay, his hands raised in the air. He looked defeated and harmless. "I am Captain Morrison," he said. "My crew and I surrender. We will come quietly." Commander Zeftai stepped forward. He was tall and graceful, with 4 arms and skin that looked like blue glass. His soldiers spread out behind him, their weapons ready. "You have made a wise choice," Zeftai said. "You will be treated well if you cooperate. Where is the rest of your crew?" "They are on the bridge," Morrison replied. "But they want to gather some personal things before we go. Family pictures, letters from home. You understand." Zeftai nodded. Most species had emotional attachments to small objects. It seemed reasonable to let them collect these things. "Very well. But make it quick. We do not have all day." What Zeftai did not know was that this was exactly what the humans wanted. They needed time, and they needed the aliens to spread out through their ship. Every second that passed gave Danny more time to work his magic. Morrison led the aliens through the corridors of his ship. To them, it looked like a normal vessel with normal systems. They saw the life support machines, the navigation computers, and the communication arrays. Everything seemed simple and primitive, but Rick Thompson had been busy. As they walked, he dropped small objects on the floor. To the aliens, these looked like nervous mistakes. A coin here, a pen there, a small tool from his pocket. The aliens barely noticed them. Rick had grown up hunting deer and elk in the wilderness. He knew how to track animals through the forest by following tiny signs. Now he was leaving signs of his own, creating a trail that only he could follow. "Your ship is smaller than I expected," Zeftai said as they walked. "We don't need much space," Morrison replied. "Humans are good at making do with less." They reached the bridge, where the other crew members waited. Danny Rodriguez was still working at his control panel, but now he looked worried instead of confident. Amy Walsh sat at her communication station, tears in her eyes. They looked like people who had given up hope. "Are you ready?" Zeftai asked. "Almost," Morrison said. "Danny, have you backed up all the important files?" "Yes, Captain," Danny replied. "Everything is ready." The aliens did not know that Danny had just finished installing his secret programs. The ship's computer systems were now under his complete control. He could make lights turn on and off, doors open and close, and temperatures change in any room. The aliens thought they had captured a simple human ship, but they had actually walked into a trap. "Amy, did you send the message to your family?" Morrison asked. "Yes, Captain," Amy said. "I told them we were safe." But Amy had not sent a message to her family. She had sent a coded distress signal to every human ship in the area. The message looked like normal communication, but hidden inside were coordinates and a request for immediate help. 50 light years away, Captain Steve Chun of the cargo ship New Boston received Amy's message. He was a former Navy pilot who had been moving supplies between colonies. When he read the hidden code, his face went hard. "Change course," he told his crew. "We're going to Harmony Point." "But Captain," said his first officer, "we're not a warship. We just carry cargo." Steve Chun smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "That's what they'll think too." Set course for Harmony Point. Maximum speed. On another ship, Captain Maria Santos of the mining vessel Liberty Bell got the same message. She was a tough woman who had spent years blasting rocks in asteroid fields. Her ship was not built for fighting, but it was built for breaking things. "Prepare the mining lasers," she told her crew. "We're going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten Earth's children." Back on the UE's Defiant, Commander Zeftai was growing impatient. As humans were taking too long to gather their belongings. His soldiers were spread throughout the ship, checking every room and corridor. "Enough delays," he said. "We leave now." "Of course," Morrison said. "We're ready." But as they walked toward the docking bay, strange things began to happen. The lights in the corridor flickered on and off. The air grew cold, then hot, then cold. Again, one of the Velteran soldiers stumbled when the floor plate under his feet suddenly tilted. "What is wrong with your ship?" Zeftai demanded. "I don't know," Morrison said, looking worried. "Maybe the docking clamps damaged something." But Morrison knew exactly what was happening. Danny Rodriguez was testing his new systems, making sure everything worked properly. The aliens were about to discover that humans were very good at turning normal things into weapons. In the engine room, a Velteran soldier was examining the human power systems. He was surprised by how primitive they seemed. No crystal matrices, no plasma conduits, just simple metal and wire. Then the room suddenly became very hot. The alien's armor began to warm up, making him uncomfortable. He tried to leave, but the door would not open. He pressed the control panel, but nothing happened. In another part of the ship, 2 soldiers were checking the storage rooms. They found boxes of food, spare parts, and personal belongings. Everything seemed normal until one of them touched a metal panel on the wall. A sudden electrical shock ran through his armor. It was not enough to hurt him, but it was enough to make him jump. His partner laughed at him, but then the lights went out. In the darkness, they could hear strange sounds coming from the walls. "What is that noise?" one of them asked. "I don't know," his partner replied, "but I don't like it." The sounds were coming from Danny's hidden systems. He had turned the ship's normal machinery into a symphony of fear. The aliens could hear pipes rattling, motors humming, and metal creaking. To them, it sounded like the ship was falling apart. Rick Thompson was also busy. He had been moving through the ship's maintenance tunnels, setting up his own surprises. The aliens thought their crystalline armor made them safe, but Rick had learned something important about their weakness. Velterans were used to stable temperatures. Their homeworld was always the same temperature, never too hot or too cold. But humans came from a world where the weather could change from freezing to burning in a single day. Rick had been adjusting the ship's heating and cooling systems, creating pockets of extreme temperature that would confuse and weaken the aliens. He also had other tricks, learned from years of hunting in the wild. "Commander," one of his soldiers called over the communication system, "something is wrong with this ship. The humans are doing something." Zeftai felt a cold touch of fear. Maybe the humans were more dangerous than he had thought. "What do?" "You mean? The ship is fighting us," the soldier replied. "The doors won't open, the lights won't work, and the temperature keeps changing. It's like the ship is alive." Zeftai looked at Captain Morrison, who was standing nearby with his hands still raised. The human looked innocent and helpless, but there was something in his eyes that made the alien commander nervous. "What are you doing?" Zeftai demanded. "Nothing," Morrison replied. "We surrendered, remember? We're your prisoners." But even as he spoke, more alarms were sounding through. The first Velteran soldier to disappear was named Kethsol. He had been checking the ship's storage areas when the lights went out. When they came back on, he was gone. His armor was found in the corridor, but he was nowhere to be seen. "Commander," his partner called over the radio, "Kethsol is missing. His armor is here, but he's not in it." Commander Zeftai felt fear growing in his chest. Velteran soldiers did not just disappear. Their armor had tracking devices and communication systems. Nothing could remove a soldier from his armor without triggering alarms. "Find him," Seftai ordered. Search every room. But the soldiers were having their own problems. The ship's corridors seemed to change when they were not looking. Doors that had been open were now closed. Passages that led to the engine room now led to storage areas. The humans had turned their simple ship into a maze. Rick Thompson watched. The aliens from the maintenance tunnels above their heads. He had been moving through the ship's hidden spaces, learning their patterns and weaknesses. The Vel Taurans were good soldiers, but they were used to fighting in open battles with clear rules. They did not know how to fight an enemy that used the shadows. Rick had grown up hunting in the forests of Montana. He knew how to move without making sound, how to appear and disappear like a ghost. The aliens had better weapons and armor, but Rick had something they did not understand, the knowledge of how to be a predator. He dropped down behind another soldier, moving as quietly as a cat. Before the alien could react, Rick had removed his armor and dragged him into a ventilation shaft. The soldier was not hurt, just confused and scared. Rick left him tied up in a storage room, where he would be safe, but unable to warn his friends. Another one is missing, came the report over. The radio. Velthane has vanished. His armor is here, but he's gone. Seftai looked at Captain Morrison, who was still standing with his hands raised. The human looked innocent, but the alien commander was beginning to understand that looks could be very wrong. "What are you doing to my soldiers?" Seftai demanded. "Nothing," Morrison replied. "We're your prisoners, remember? We can't do anything." But even as he spoke, the ship's lights flickered again. The temperature in the corridor dropped so low that the alien's breath came out in clouds. Then it became so hot that their armor began to warm up uncomfortably. Danny Rodriguez was having fun with his hidden systems. He had turned the ship's normal environmental controls into weapons. The aliens were used to perfect conditions on their ships, but humans were used to surviving in any environment. "Commander," came another voice over the radio, "we have a problem in the engine room. The humans have done something to the power systems. Every time we try to scan them, we get electrical shocks." Danny smiled as he listened to the reports. He had been an engineer for 15 years, working on ships that had to function in the most dangerous parts of space. He knew how to make systems work when they should not work, and he knew how to make them fight back when someone tried to break them. The aliens thought human technology was primitive, but they did not understand that primitive technology was harder to break. Their advanced systems relied on complex programming and delicate equipment. Human systems were built to work even when half of them were destroyed. "All soldiers, report to the docking bay," Seftai ordered. "We are leaving this ship now." But when the soldiers tried to move, they found that the ship would not let them go. Doors that should have opened stayed closed. Corridors that should have led to the docking bay led to dead ends. The ship's computer system was fighting them at every step. "The doors won't open, Commander," reported one soldier. "The control panels are not responding." "Then blast them open," Seftai said. The soldiers raised their energy weapons and fired at the doors. The beams cut through the metal, but behind each door was another door, and behind that another. Danny had been building extra barriers throughout the ship, turning it into a fortress that could not be easily broken. While the aliens were busy trying to escape, Amy Walsh was still sending messages. Her distress signals had reached human ships across 3 star systems. The cargo hauler New Boston was only 2 hours away now, and the mining ship Liberty Bell was right behind it. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "we have friends coming." Morrison nodded slightly. The plan was working, but they needed to buy more time. The aliens were getting desperate, and desperate people did dangerous things. "Commander," Morrison said, "maybe we can work something out. You want to take us prisoner, and we want to live. There must be a way to make this work for everyone." Seftai looked at the human captain. Morrison seemed reasonable, but nothing about this situation was reasonable. "What do you suggest?" "Let us help you get your soldiers back together," Morrison said. "This ship is old and has some problems. The doors stick sometimes, and the lights don't work properly. If you let us help, we can get everyone to the docking bay safely." It was a lie, but it was a lie that sounded believable. The aliens were scared and confused, and they wanted to believe that there was a simple explanation for what was happening. "Very well," Zeftai said. "But if you try to trick us... "We won't," Morrison promised. "We just want everyone to be safe." Morrison led the alien commander through the ship, showing him where his soldiers had last been seen. But as they walked, more strange things happened. The walls seemed to pulse like they were alive. Strange sounds came from behind the metal panels. The air sometimes smelled like ozone, sometimes like burning metal. "What is wrong with this ship?" Zeftai asked. "It's very old," Morrison explained. "We've been trying to fix it for months, but we don't have the right parts. Sometimes it acts like it has a mind of its own." Rick Thompson was following them through the maintenance tunnels, listening to every word. He had collected 6 alien soldiers so far, all of them safe but confused. They were tied up in storage rooms throughout the ship, wondering how a primitive human had been able to capture them so easily. The secret was that Rick was not fighting like a soldier. He was hunting like a predator. He used the ship's own systems against the aliens, turning familiar spaces into dangerous territory. The Vel-Terrans had better weapons, but Rick had better knowledge of the battlefield. "Commander," came a panicked voice over the radio, "we found Kethsal. He's tied up in storage room 7. He says a human appeared from nowhere and took him." "That's impossible," Zeftai said. "There are only 4 humans on this ship, and they are all accounted for." But Morrison was smiling again, and that smile was making the alien commander very nervous. "You're right, Commander. There are only 4 of us. But we've had a lot of practice at being hard to catch." Outside the ship, the first human reinforcements were arriving. Captain Steve Chun brought the cargo hauler New Boston out of hyperspace near Harmony Point. His ship was not built for fighting, but it carried industrial equipment that could be very dangerous in the right hands. "This is Captain Chun to any human vessels in the area," he broadcast. "We have a situation at Harmony Point. The aliens are trying to capture our people. I repeat, they are trying to capture our people." The message was heard by every human ship within range. On mining stations and cargo haulers, exploration vessels and passenger ships, people who had grown up on Earth felt their blood get hot. Someone was threatening their family, and that was not acceptable. Captain Maria Santos brought her mining ship Liberty Bell out of hyperspace on the other side of the station. Her vessel was built for breaking rocks, but rocks and spaceships were not so different when you had the right tools. "Steve," she called over the radio, "what's the situation?" "Jake Morrison and his crew are trapped on their ship," Steve replied. 12 Vil-Terran warships have them surrounded. They want to take our people prisoner." Maria's face went hard. She had been breaking rocks in space for 20 years, and she knew how to break other things too. "Not while I'm here, they won't." On the U.S.'s Defiant, Commander Zephi was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. His soldiers were disappearing one by one, captured by an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The ship itself was fighting against them, making it impossible to move or communicate properly. "Commander," came another report, "we have a new problem. There are human ships approaching the station. 2 of them so far, but more are coming." Zeftai felt his confidence cracking. This was supposed to be a simple operation. Capture a few humans, take them away for study, and show the galaxy that Earth's children could be controlled. Instead, he was trapped on a ship that seemed to be alive, fighting an enemy that used tactics he had never seen before. "How many humans are coming?" he asked. "We don't know," his communication officer replied. "They are broadcasting on frequencies we can't block. More ships are arriving every few minutes." Morrison was listening to the radio chatter, and his smile was getting wider. "You know, Commander, you might want to consider leaving. This situation is about to get much more complicated." "What do you mean?" "Well," Morrison said, "you came here to capture 4 humans. But humans have this thing about helping each other. When one of us is in trouble, the others come running. And they don't usually come alone." As if to prove his point, 3 more human ships appeared near the station. They were all civilian vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and 3 months after the Battle of Harmony Point, Ambassador Kethver stood before the Galactic Council once again. But this time, he was not speaking about containing the humans. He was speaking about survival. "Fellow council members," he began, his forearms moving nervously, "we have received reports from across the galaxy. The humans are not what we thought they were." The great chamber was quieter than usual. Many of the council members had heard stories about what happened at Harmony Point. Some of the stories were true. Others had grown bigger with each telling, but even the truth was frightening enough. "Tell us what you have learned," said the council leader. Kethver activated the hologram in the center of the room. It showed Captain Morrison and his crew, but they were not prisoners now. They were heroes on every human world, and their story had spread to every corner of the galaxy. "The incident at Harmony Point has changed everything," Kethver said. "The humans did not just fight back. They won, and they won using nothing but civilian ships and improvised weapons." The hologram changed to show the battle. Civilian ships attacking warships with mining equipment. Cargo haulers defeating cruisers with industrial lasers. Passenger liners using furniture as missiles. To most species, it looked impossible. But the humans had done it anyway. "How many Vel-Terran ships were destroyed?" asked the representative from the crystalline hegemony. "None," Kethver replied. "That is what makes this so frightening. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet, but they chose not to. They disabled the ships and captured the crews, but they did not kill anyone." A wave of confused sounds filled the chamber. Most species would have destroyed their enemies completely. The fact that humans had shown mercy was somehow more terrifying than if they had been brutal. "They fought like warriors, but acted like protectors," Kethver continued. "They proved they could destroy us, but chose not to. This is not the behavior of a primitive species. This is the behavior of apex predators who are confident in their power." Dr. Velinara appeared as a projection from her laboratory. She looked tired and worried, like she had not slept in weeks. "Honored Council," she said, "I have completed my new study of human behavior. My previous analysis was completely wrong." The chamber fell silent. Dr. Velinara was the best xenobiologist in the galaxy. If she was wrong about humans, then everyone was wrong. "I studied their biology and concluded they were dangerous because of their physical capabilities," she continued. "But I missed the most important thing. Humans are dangerous because of their minds." The hologram showed human children playing games again. But now the aliens could see something they had missed before. The children were not just learning to fight. They were learning to work together to protect each other and to never give up. Human young ones play games that teach them strategy, teamwork, and problem-solving under pressure. Dr. Velinara explained. "What we thought was military training is actually social bonding. They are learning to be part of a family that will never abandon them." "But they are individuals," protested the Viridian Collective representative. "They do not have a hive mind like proper species. That is what makes them so dangerous," Dr. Velinara replied. "They choose to work together. They choose to help each other. They choose to fight for strangers simply because those strangers are human. The hologram showed the aftermath of the Battle of Harmony Point. Human ships from across the galaxy had arrived to help Captain Morrison, not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to, because someone was threatening their family. How many human ships responded to the distress call? Asked the council leader. 47, Kethver replied. Cargo haulers, mining ships, passenger liners, exploration vessels, even a few pleasure craft. None of them were warships, but they all came running when they heard that humans were in danger. And they all fought? They all fought. A luxury yacht attacked a Vel-Terran destroyer with its navigation thrusters. An old cargo hauler rammed a cruiser to protect a passenger ship. They had no plan, no coordination, and no proper weapons. But they won because they refused to lose. Far from the crystal towers of Centauri Prime, Captain Morrison sat in his new office on Earth. Admiral Carter had promoted him to head of the Diplomatic Contact Division, a job that involved meeting with alien species who wanted to understand humans better. Captain, said his assistant, there's a delegation from the Vel-Terran Empire here to see you. Morrison smiled. He had been expecting this visit. Send them in. Commander Zeftai entered the office, but he looked different now. He moved carefully, like someone who had learned to be afraid. Behind him came Dr. Valinara and two other aliens Morrison did not recognize. Captain Morrison, Zeftai said, we have come to ask for your help. What kind of help? Dr. Valinara stepped forward. There is a new threat emerging from beyond the galactic rim. Ships have been disappearing, and colonies have gone silent. We think something is coming, something dangerous. And you want human help? Morrison asked. We need human help, Zeftai admitted. Our advanced technology and superior weapons are useless against an enemy we do not understand. But humans specialize in fighting impossible battles. Morrison leaned back in his chair. A few months ago, you tried to capture me and my crew. You said we were too dangerous to be free. Now you want our help? We were wrong, Dr. Valinara said quietly. We thought danger came from violence and aggression. But we learned that true. Danger comes from the refusal to give up, from the willingness to turn anything into a weapon, from the choice to fight for each other no matter what the cost. And you think humans can help you? We know humans can help us, Zeftai replied, because humans are the deadliest beings alive. Not because you want to kill, but because you refuse to die. Morrison thought about the offer. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy through the Battle of Harmony Point, but with that place came responsibilities. If there was a new threat, then humans had a duty to help stop it. I'll need to talk to my crew, he said. Danny, Amy, and Rick get a vote in this too. Of course, Dr. Valinara said. We would not ask you to fight alone. We want to fight beside you, to learn how you turn impossible situations into victories. 2 hours later, Morrison stood on the bridge of a new ship. It was not a human vessel or an alien vessel, but something built by both species working together. The U's Harmony carried the best technology from a dozen worlds, but it was crewed by humans who knew how to use that technology in ways the designers never intended. Captain, said Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez, all systems are ready. This ship is going to be something special. Amy, what's our communication status? Morrison asked. We're linked to every human ship in the fleet, Communications Officer Amy Walsh replied. And we're connected to the alien vessels, too. If we run into trouble, half the galaxy will know about it. Rick, how are our new alien crewmates doing? Security. Chief Rick Thompson smiled. They're learning fast, Captain. Commander Zeftai wants to know how I disappeared his soldiers on the old ship. I told him it's all about patience and knowing your environment. Morrison looked out at the stars ahead. Somewhere beyond the rim of the galaxy, a new threat was waiting. It would be dangerous, probably impossible, and definitely frightening. In other words, it would be exactly the kind of challenge that humans were born to face. "All right, everyone," he said. "Let's go show the universe why Deathworlders are the deadliest beings alive." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its mixed crew toward the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy watched and waited. The humans had proven they could win impossible battles, but now they would face their greatest test yet. But across human space, from Earth to the furthest colonies, people heard the news and smiled. Their children were going into danger again. But they were not going alone. They carried with them the knowledge that comes from growing up on a world that tried to kill them every day. They carried the certainty that no matter how dark things got, humans would find a way to survive. They would adapt, improvise, and overcome. They would turn their environment into a weapon and their disadvantages into strengths, and they would never, ever give up. 5 years later, children across the galaxy learned about the Battle of Harmony, point in their history classes. To the alien children, it was a lesson about not underestimating others. To the human children, it was a reminder of who they were and where they came from. Remember, their teachers would say, humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced, but we are the species that refuses to lose. We are the species that turns everything around us into a tool for survival. We are the children of Earth, and Earth taught us well. The lesson would end with the same words every time. Deathworlders are the deadliest beings alive, not because we want to kill, but because we choose to live. And we will fight for that choice until the stars burn out. In the darkness between galaxies, the new threat waited. It had destroyed civilizations before, wiping out entire species without effort. It was ancient and powerful and utterly confident in its superiority. But it had never fought humans before. It had never faced creatures that grew up on a world where survival was earned every single day. It had never encountered beings that could look at impossible odds and see them as merely challenging. The T